Welcome, smart humans, to Waves of Wisdom, Summer Conversations with Smart Minds. Because this summer, I invite you on an inspiring and transformative journey as I explore the minds and lives of extraordinary smart humans. I'm, of course, your host of the Managing the Smart Mind podcast, Elsa Kramer, also known as Coach Kramer. And throughout this scintillating summer series, we're going to be riding the waves of the inspiring lives of lots of very different people with bright brains. In each interview, I have the privilege of engaging in captivating conversations with amazing smart humans, from poets to startup founders, from artists to entrepreneurs, and from stand-up comedians to swamis. This summer, we'll be delving into the depths of their wisdom, and we're going to draw lots of inspiration from their unique perspectives, their choices, and experiences. Waves of Wisdom is not just about high IQ or being fast-brained. It's about how to harness your intelligence and your heart to make a meaningful impact. You're going to learn about strategies, tools, and shifts these smart minds have employed to navigate the complexity of being a fast-brained human on this crazy planet. We're going to explore all the ways in which you too can design a life that works with your smart mind. Whether you have a well or not so well managed smart mind, this summer series of Waves of Wisdom will help guide you on your quest for knowledge, inspiration, and personal growth. Enjoy. From law to mosaic art, a journey of passion and purpose with Francesca Busca. Hello, smart humans. I am so excited to share with you today the inspiring journey of an amazing woman who decided to follow her passion for handling colorful stones. I had the pleasure of interviewing Francesca Busca, a former lawyer turned mosaic artist. And her inspiring story is a true testament to the power of aligning your life with your interests and passions, and then innovating your field along the way. Now, Francesca's journey began in Italy. She studied law, and despite her interest in art, she pursued law because she thought work had to be hard. But she always did feel that something was missing in her life. And then one day she visited a Roman basilica in Italy, and the feeling of stones in her hand as she did a mosaic workshop and the sense of creativity just absorbed her completely. And she had this kind of lightning realization, this is what I'm meant to be doing. So upon returning to London, she found a place to continue doing mosaics, and she studied it. She started using and reusing materials like broken ceramics and crockery. And she very quickly became an expert in this, to her, completely new field, something which, by the way, isn't uncommon for fast-brained humans. And at the same time, alongside her passion for mosaics, she developed an interest in permaculture and understanding the ecosystem. She started learning about how plants are connected and communicate. And interestingly, again, something I see a lot of smart humans do, she was able to connect this in her mosaic practice. She started creating art out of waste materials, which are typically overlooked and discarded. And her goal kind of became to spread awareness about pollution and the need for reusing, repurposing, and reducing waste, as well as incorporating this into art. In effect, she started selling major corporations their own rubbish. Just so fun and so fascinating. She also experimented with payment in kindness. She would actually give discounts on her art based on eco-friendly actions taken by her customers, such as using reusable bags or avoiding plastic straws. So many experiments, so many ways of playing, of being in a world, of thinking about money. It's fascinating. And her journey is a testament to the power of, yes, following one's passion, or passions, I would say, and making a positive impact on the world. I think through her art and activism, she is a great inspiration on how you can make a difference and create a better future and have a lot of fun in the process. And it's also a great reminder that it's never too late to pursue what truly makes you happy. Enjoy this interview with Francesca Busca, and don't forget to check out her amazing art. All right, smart humans, I am so happy to be here today with the amazing, inspiring Francesca Busca.
Hello.
Hello and welcome. First of all, where are you in the world? Because your name sounds kind of Italian, but
yes. So I was born in Italy, and then I just, when I was 17, I went to the US in Colorado, in Denver actually, for a year abroad with IFS, Intercultura, an exchange program.
mm-hmm.
And then I went back to Italy to graduate from secondary school. And then I just started moving around the world. So I lived a year here and another year then, London, Paris, New York, Padua. And then evenally I settled here in London. And this is where I am at the moment.
Right. So London calling.
Yes. And I'm hearing it.
I love it. And one of the reasons I wanted to really talk to you, and I think it's going to be amazing for all the smart people listening, is because you have had such a beautiful trajectory in learning how to design a life that works with your smart mind, right? Like what works and what doesn't work. Because we're looking at amazing artworks behind you. We're not going to go there yet. First, I want to talk about law.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you studied law.
Yes, but
tell me.
Okay, so
how did that happen?
I've always been an artist, I think. My dad knew that I should have been, but for some strange misconception, everyone's always said that working is hard. And I just thought art was so easy. I just thought this cannot be work, right? This cannot be a job.
Oh my God.
And
okay,
so
hang on. I have to pause you there because this is a massively important concept. Like everybody who finds their zone of genius then starts thinking, this is too good to be true.
Exactly. And I was really little. I mean, so, and I kept on believing this. And that's actually a big area because, oh my God, where do you start? You realize that you get to things quicker than other people. But most of the time I ended up by thinking I was the one doing things wrong and I was missing something. Okay. And that is also what happened with my job. Also, I have to say, I did like the high schools, the top schools, but I never really applied myself that much. I would only, study the minimum to pass. And because I thought there were so many other things to do in life. And
so many interesting things.
Yeah. And you never know exactly what you like. You like it all. You want to do a bit of everything. And quite frankly, I find myself being a generalist, like wanting to know a bit of everything.
Yep.
Like, at the beginning of times.
Renaissance woman.
Yes, that's what I like to be. And there's so many things that are just so interesting, and there's not enough time in your life. Anyway, and so I ended up by doing law because people just thought, oh, you've got such a good, gift of the gab, you can use it.
So that was it. You're so eloquent. You can.
Yes. And then everyone just said, you can do anything you want with law. Quite frankly, nothing I would like to do.
I know. I'm like what exactly?
Yeah. So I ended up by studying law forever because every time I went abroad, I would do like a diploma abroad, or I would work abroad, or do an internship, whatever. And then, when I had children.
No, hang on, Paul.
Okay.
Okay. You're saying I studied law forever. How long in your world is forever?
Forever is way too long. Now, so basically, I studied in Italy a couple of years. Then I was getting really frustrated because I was studying in, I'm not going to mention it, but in a university where students were treated as numbers and as really.
I think a lot of people are going to recognize this.
Exactly. So
over years.
But anyway, I would, make an appointment to see the professor 2 months in advance. Then there I am, and he doesn't even show up. Do you know? Things like that. So after that, I moved to London. And I started over basically. So it also took me, because I didn't recognize some of the exams, anyway. So I started over, and then I also made it a year longer by going abroad doing the European legal studies. So I
Mhm.
went to Paris for a year. I don't regret that at all. I would rather study, longer if that gives me the opportunity to travel and do
Yeah.
stuff. Anyway, and then I came back and graduated, and then I worked. That's also very interesting because I applied for training contracts, obviously,
Yeah.
but it takes a while. I wouldn't even know whether I wanted to be a lawyer. So I didn't apply in time for those. You have to apply 2 years in advance. So I found
Oh my God, really? 2 years
yeah,
ahead of time.
2 years
Wow.
ahead of time. And
Wow.
obviously, people stab each other in the back to get one because it's so hard. Anyway, so I applied for them when I pretty much graduated. In the mind you, my father also died, in those years. So it's been quite a journey and lots of other things to think about. But and in the meantime, I found another job to do. And so I ended up by working as an in-house solicitor
Mhm.
with a lot of responsibility, actually, before doing the training contract.
Interesting.
So yes, and the funny thing is that I told them when they hired me from the beginning, I'm really straightforward, honest. I want
Yeah.
things to work out for everyone. I'm not taking advantage of the situation. I think that being smart generally means finding something that's good for you and for the rest of the world, right?
Yes.
Everyone can benefit.
Hopefully, yes.
So I told them, look, I'm just going to be here for 2 years because in the meantime, I also got my offer for a training contract in the city. And so, if that's okay with you. And they said, okay, 2 years come. Of course, I warned them in advance. Look, guys, remember, I have to leave. But they didn't want to let me go. So they contacted all their lawyers to say, can she? Fact is, I also wanted to leave by then because I was,
Maybe you were bored
well,
or
bored, I'm not sure because they kept
okay.
me on my toes. They kept giving me different
Okay, good.
It was actually quite fun. But the point is, I'm a pacifist, right? I was protesting against the war in Iraq in New York, right the year before it happened. And there I was working in-house for a private security company whose main client was the US and whose main contracts were, the Baghdad airport, the exchange of currency in Afghanistan, lots of
Okay. So a bit of a conflict there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mind you, it was really interesting. I met some incredible people, but I was dealing with ex-FIS. Well, yes, I mean ex CIA
Yep.
or people that were coming from very interesting backgrounds. But yeah, no, I got on with everyone very well anyway. And I think, before you can make a stand, it's good to understand and hear both
Yes.
sides. I
100%.
still stand on my side, but it was really, really interesting. And it was a really big, steep learning curve for me with all the responsibility they gave.
Yeah.
Anyway, after that, I went to work in the city as a, training contract, corporate mainly. And then I got pregnant. And I didn't want to go back to law after that, quite frankly. And I thought, look, you know, so I stayed at home for the first few years, look after the kids. After that, you go mad, absolutely mental if you don't do something. I think everyone, not just me.
Yes.
So I started doing Mosaic because I took him to Aquileia, which is, sorry, I'm ranting. Tell me if
That's okay. I will interrupt you if I feel like we need to pause and
good.
yeah.
Because basically I still didn't know what I like to do. And but then I started doing some art, drawing in the meantime, whenever I get the time, if I weren't sleeping. And then I went to Aquileia, which is a beautiful Roman basilica in Italy. And they keep discovering new mosaics, new layers of mosaics in there. And they're amazing. And I took the children there. And next to it, there was a little shop which sold actually some bags of pre-cut marble that you could do one of those mosaics with, in a smaller scale. And I did it and I was hooked. 3 days and 3 nights, not even sleeping or eating, basically, just doing it because their children.
Like a drug.
Yeah, honestly, because the children weren't even there because they went to their grandparents to stay. And I just, oh my God, this is it. I love the feeling of those stones in my hands. I love the smells that you get. I love also the fact that I could create and just, be completely absorbed by that for once. Like focusing on myself again,
I think also it sounds like you were completely in flow.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Which is the best state or one of the
Oh
best
my God,
states.
yeah, in
Yeah.
trance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's how I am when I am in a project. I tend to be quite monotomatic, but
Yeah.
I love it. It's not, I'm not suffering out of it. But anyway, so after that, I came back because I was in Italy. And then I came back because we go there during the summer. And then I came back in September and found a place where to do mosaics. So I could go a couple of days a week, I
Okay,
think.
I'm going to pause you now,
Yeah.
right? Because it's so interesting to me what happens here, basically. And I think this is a lot of this happens to a lot of us, especially the more impulsive ones, more impulsive, smart people. We're like, this is the thing, right? And so for me, it will be like, I order 20 books on the thing. I order like all the art supplies,
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, bring it on,
right?
never enough. Yes, I agree.
And then we do like this manic almost deep dive.
Yeah.
And then what happens? So you
And then I
well,
just thought, but listen, why can't I started using and reusing stuff? Because already mosaics, you use a lot of broken ceramics, broken crockery or other stuff. And then I was
no,
getting,
hang on, but because now you're going way too fast because that sounds like you were already doing lots of mosaics, but you got home from Italy. What happened then?
then I found right away this place where to go and do mosaics. I would be doing some there, and then I started getting, obviously, as you said, all the books and the material at home, and I was doing it at home as well. So
Right? You were becoming like an expert like in an insane amount of time, I'm sure.
exactly, pretty much. Yeah, I did
Yes.
courses. I went to it every time went back to Italy. I would take a course at the Scuola Mosaicisti del Friuli in Spilimbergo, which I believe is the best in the world, where I would be doing, marble, smalti, etc. But anyway, just to sum it all up, after that, I already started. Another passion of mine in the meantime was that of permaculture and understanding the ecosystem and learning about um, how plants think, and
Mm-hmm.
actually how much smarter they are than we are.
And how
And
they
many perspectives
communicate and
they have, yes, and the Wood Wide Web, and reading a lot of Stefano Mancuso, Monica Gagliano, Peter Wallace. I mean, so many
okay,
different.
but hang on, stop.
Anyway,
I'm going to pause you again because
yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but some of the listeners may be like, "What? You say what? Can you say that again?" Like
So
plants
basically, apparently,
communicate?
no, because it is actually interesting. So apparently the plant, basically when we evolved from an amoeba, we decided, right, what we were going to do in front of a danger, whether we would escape, run from it, as animals did, and we did, or whether we would stay and face it. Facing it is a lot harder, of course, but that's what the plants decided. And they have developed 15 senses that they have tried and tested already scientifically, and other 5 they are proving in now, actually. And they basically have the same things we do. They see, they feel, they, everything. They talk, communicate,
Communicate.
say, when they
Yeah.
talk. And it's just that they develop differently. So they don't have one organ to do everything like we do, because we need to move it along, carry it with us. It's all throughout their own body and their roots, and also how they develop this community for which they're not individuals. They are a community of plants, different plants. And when people say that, a tree grows taller before the others because he needs to survive instead of the others, that's not really correct. He only does it because he knows, I'm calling it he knows that he is more useful to the community than others to gather certain things such as sun or whatever. And then whatever he gets, he actually communicates it through the root
Downwards,
to
right?
everyone
Yeah.
else. Exactly. And
Yeah.
receives. So if a tree actually doesn't grow in a community, it's because either it's not needed, it's not necessary, or it's ill and it won't survive.
Yeah.
But still it will be one out of a community. And so it's incredible. It's how we should all live, even with animals. It just makes you understand how little you are, and how much more we could do, and
If
how
we all contribute to the greater
the greater
whole.
good is all that
Yeah.
matters at the end.
Yeah.
And that's how I also thought, we are also, if we're so clever, how come we are the first species that brings itself, well, not really first. We had the dodo before, apparently, a few others, but to bring ourselves to self-destruction. And I don't think, somehow I think, well, if this is what we do, perhaps we don't deserve to
Yeah.
survive.
Maybe our fate is
Selection.
to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
To become
But at the same
extinct.
time, I also hope, well, we
You
can
have
have
kids, right? You have, yeah. There's
yes,
this.
we just understand.
Yeah.
And so basically all this, I brought it into my practice as well. And that's why I started looking at pollution, looking at ways to plunder Earth
Okay,
less.
I'm going to pause you again
Yes.
because you're saying I brought it into my practice. So by this time you had a practice.
Yes, I
What
started.
does this practice look like? Because we're starting, you go to Italy, you get super inspired, you have this kind of like manic, oh my God, I need to find out everything about this thing. But then for most people, it drops off and they go on to another thing. But that didn't happen for you. Like, at what stage did you think, okay, this is something I want to continue doing? Maybe
Yeah.
even,
Okay, yeah, that's the point. Because also
yeah.
I think a bit because of course I merged the interests I had, and also I felt the need of not weighing so much on the world, but also because I, again, as you say, we probably share the need of learning different things and
Yeah.
moving and pushing the boundaries and always going outside our comfort zone. And that's also what I started to do with my practice. I started trying different materials because of that. And then I just thought,
Interesting. So you moved away from the stones.
yes. And meantime, sorry, I also did a diploma in mosaics and I
I
graduated.
have to interrupt you for one
Yeah.
second because there's a parcel
Okay.
at the door.
Yeah. There you are.
I'm back.
Arrived. Good.
Yes. So you started realizing, okay, I'm moving away. There's so much more I can do than just with the traditional stones.
Yes. Yes.
But tell me a bit more about that.
Yes, so I wasn't the first one to use, again, broken crockeries or buttons or other things you find, but I think I moved away when I said, like, I made the real difference when I just thought, why not use something that is not new, something for which I do not need to plunder, something, that actually otherwise goes to waste and adds to pollution. And so I started looking at my way. I just took my rubbish bin and looked into it.
Amazing.
I've done it before once because I had a white wall in it and I just thought I'm so, sick of this white wall. I'm just going to do something now. So we opened up our bins and we just made this big koi fish out of whatever paper and stuff we found. They're still there actually to this day.
Oh, it'd be fun to have a picture and we can share it with the podcast. So that
And
is kind of the initial work. That's kind of where it started, the concept.
yeah, but I've always done that,
Okay.
if that's why I told you I knew I should have been an artist,
Yeah.
because I just feel like I need to use my hands and do something creative, crafty. But anyway, so at the end of the day, I became a mosaicist. I graduated, I also taught.
Okay, stop.
Yeah.
Again, right? Because you're saying this like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does it look like to become a mosaicist? Am I saying it correctly?
Yes. So basically, the London School of Mosaic, the place where I started studying mosaic was called South Bend Mosaics. It then moved on to become the London School of Mosaic, and it's a beautiful place. It's a community. It really does things for the greater good. It's non-profit. Everyone is really positive and welcoming and open to everything. That's what I believe. I mean, quite frankly, we're still stuck with, looking at differences in color, age, sex, whatever else, and
Income,
there are the
class.
plants, and then the
Yeah.
rest. And then we're so behind. I mean, I'm so, beyond that. And they are so. I mean, it's such a nurturing environment for everyone, and that's where they started doing the first diploma in this country.
Interesting.
They also I also studied history of mosaics with Wotton from King's College. Amazing.
My alma mater. I studied at King's as well. Yep, I studied philosophy at King's. But yeah, but I just want to also press pause on this one because this is a great example of, I think, what smart minds do. like we find a discipline, but then of course it's in itself, it tends to be not enough for our brain. Like, oh, let's study history, or let's become an expert in materials, or right. And it sounds like you
You
did
never
all
know
the things.
enough. You always feel like, oh my God, where else can I learn?
Yes. Yeah, but this is also, I think, how we can bring innovation where other people can't, because we are so interdisciplinary. We bring
Yeah.
so many things. Maybe
Yeah.
even something you learned in law. Who knows?
Yeah. Quite frankly, I think I forgot all of that. I didn't
You erased it.
what went.
Okay,
But
so you got a diploma in, you became a mosaicist. I'm gonna say it again. New word,
yeah,
fun. Yeah. Then
yeah,
what?
yeah,
Were
yeah.
you already thinking like, this is gonna be my new kind of career job, or was it still, were you just pursuing your
I
interest?
just proceeded because I would loved it, and
Yeah,
already had
passion.
people asking me to do some stuff with them, and also I just thought, why not? I kept on liking it, and I still like it, and I
Okay,
keep.
so another thing, people were asking you to do something for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because that's also really good. This is how I became a photographer when I became a photographer, right? Like other people saying, "Oh, but this is amazing. You should like make more."
Yeah.
Was that kind of how it went? Because that can be a great
Yes.
sign as
Yes,
well.
really. Yes. Until now, when I started using rubbish, the best thing is that people will come to me and say, "Oh, what did you use to do this?" And they couldn't realize that, I don't know, it was an Actimel bottle or where it came from, which is great. And that's what I do differently. Many artists use rubbish, but they use it as it is. I rework them in tessera. So to me, that's the prime material. It's not
Okay,
because it's
so
rubbish, it's because it's
not
prime
everybody may
material.
know what tessera are. Tessera are,
Tiles, just tiles,
yes,
little bits,
the
basically.
building
That
blocks basically of the mosaic.
range
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
into ornamentos, etc.
yeah.
And 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 at first I just kept on doing whatever I was doing using rubbish, and there was like for some reason I think that people wanted just to me to stop at rubbish. I would be doing a piece on, I don't know, immortality,
Mm-hmm.
based on Borges. That I love his
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Anyway, how life,
famous South American author.
yeah, and
Yep.
many others. But anyway, and but they would just focus on the one rubbish thing, and I just thought, you know what? Sod it. I'm just going to focus on this. And what I will do is I'll make rubbish beautiful. And that will be my aim. Because to me, art is not necessarily beautiful. It's a message. It's something that you communicate. A good piece of art is something that communicates something to you then. Like a whole concept is visually represented in one piece, or a series or and so that's what I did. I just started making waste beautiful. Waste, which is the one thing you don't even look at when it's disposable, and it's, just throw it away. I want to get rid of as soon as possible. And then now it becomes, something you want to put on your wall. And then what I did, I just thought, how can I just bring spread the word of pollution and what we can do, and then waste and how much of it we produce, and how we should start rethinking and reusing and repurposing and reducing all this waste the most effective way. And you can talk to individuals, but one life, 10 lives won't be enough.
Yes. Yes.
Government
Agreed.
will be best because, of course, they have this umbrella effect over everyone, but they're so slow and they don't have much money and they don't have much time. And,
And
it's
sometimes a conflict of interest. Yep.
exactly. And so I just thought, well, what about corporations? They have the money, they have the capability of reaching thousands, if
Yeah.
not more, of people, and also they have they're quick. And so I did, and so I started basically selling companies their own rubbish, which
Okay,
is
this is fucking genius.
unbelievable. How to sell people their own rubbish and get away with it
This
ethically.
is so good.
Now, I'll say something more about this though, because
Sure, but this is so
what they're.
basically your activism started feeding into your work
Yes.
in a very explicit way. I'm sure it's always been there, right? I don't think you can sort of separate the activism from the artist, but now
Yeah.
it became a very explicit part of
Yes,
it.
so I'm an
Yeah.
eco activist or rubbish artist or whatever you
Yeah.
want. That's how I call myself. So basically, what I do is great because I started going into this. I mean, I used to work in the city, so I knew the language. I
Right.
knew,
Exactly.
what to
You know
expect.
the culture.
Exactly. But I got in through that, greenwashing tick they have to do, basically.
Yes.
But I found people who really cared. And that was so good. What was so
Okay, and I'm going to pause again because
yeah.
that is good to reiterate. Like, it's not like all corporations are completely evil for the people who believe that, right? There's still
No.
amazing humans working there.
Yes, and that's where you realize that it is the whole system that has to be changed because people
Yes.
are ready and they're willing. And the way people react, because it's not just take the rubbish and put it up on the wall, it's the people have to collect it. We
Oh,
decide, and
interesting.
then, yes, and also,
It's
they
not just they just go at the end of the day, they take all the rubbish bins and send it to you.
oh, no, it's
You
like
have
the
a process.
everyone participate, yes, and that makes them stop and look at what they have in their hands and understand that it
Great
has value,
awareness.
and it can have another value and another life, and it can become something beautiful, and then they will, they also have fun. I think they had a lot of fun. They had a great participation because also I would ask them, do you actually, if you have anything else that you think will look good or something that's interesting or an odd thing here and there that you find, bring it to me and then we'll see if we can put it up on it. And yeah, it's going well and they're really appreciated. They're also like an icebreaker with the
Of
clients
course.
most of the time.
Yeah.
They start talking about it
But
and
okay, first take me to the through the process. How do you organize? You go to a corporation, you say, "Hey, I have this amazing idea for you. You give me
actually
money, I take your rubbish."
they come to me.
Oh
That's the
my
best
God,
thing because it's
amazing.
through word of mouth. Now, the fact is, it started taking off exactly when lockdown happened.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't good. So I lost a few commissions, obviously, in these 2 years, but I started gaining others. And at the moment, I don't have any agency to represent or any PR
They
company.
just find you.
Yes, I might actually
Amazing.
have to refer to some. And if I go, I found a couple of eco-friendly ones or,
Yeah.
sustainable ones that I would use. Because it takes up so much time anyway, all the marketing. And because I still do,
Yeah.
of course, I have to
Yeah.
keep up with Instagram and little things that to me, I mean, if I could, not do that.
Yeah. I think many of us are like, do I
Exactly.
have
But that's
to?
my only way, to show what I do. So
Right? The world does need to know about you. Yes. Okay. But then what, because I'm so curious about, you start talking to a company and they give you a commission to create a work of art out of their rubbish. How does it then work? Do you say, okay, is there
I
like a
think
memo to everyone? I mean,
okay, so
how's the
basically,
process?
I have a look at the office and
Yeah.
where they are thinking of putting the artwork. We decide on the size, we decide on, I have a look, then I go around and have a look at all the rubbish, the waste, both from the office and the canteen or the bar,
Right. Right. Yeah.
the area. Even shredded paper actually can be amazing. So ask,
Yes.
what they do with their documents because some of them are confidential and you cannot use them. But if they're shredded, that's fine. So, and if they shred them in house or they send them off, to another company. So
Yep.
there's lots of things that I would know by now what to look at and ask. And then we select the things that we'll keep aside. Could be a tea bag. I mean, not the actual tea bag, the paper, the wrapper,
Yes.
bag wrapper. Or it could be cans, or it could be caps, or it could be, some plastic, it could be paper, whatever it is. And then I don't know, it depends on how big they are. I give them enough time to collect and then I take them home and I work on them and bring them back. Everything is eco-friendly from beginning to end. I try to be carbon neutral so that I go by public transport if I can. If I cannot, I go by electric car. My own if I can. Otherwise, there's also through Get, the app, you can get some electric cabs.
Right. Right.
So there is a way around there, depending on how big they are. And that's it really. And for example, I did a project for a New York office and I couldn't sleep that night because I thought that is not eco-friendly. That is not carbon neutral. How do I do that? There was no way around. Like, do I just row a ship and bring it over? Should I just say no? And then even speaking to my husband, he just said, look, at the end of the day, it is your job. You're still going to reach lots and lots of people because it was for the main lobby of this major financial services firm. So he just said, look, the plane is still going to fly. It's not that big or heavy. I mean, I could lift it myself. So why not? And so I did. And so now.
And I think this is also great to address. Like, I think so many people get too wrapped up in the whole, in like being eco-friendly. Like they are like, oh, now if I do fly, I am like the devil. I think we can
There
be
should
a
be.
little bit more
I agree.
flexible, right?
I I agree. And it's
Yeah.
all in like, do I really need to fly?
Yes.
That's the point. And
Yeah.
then,
And then
or-
make a choice like, does this serve a bigger purpose,
exactly.
etc., etc.
Or,
Yeah.
I haven't done it for, 6 months. Well, maybe I'm allowed one now, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of reducing and being, I think, just aware of what
Yeah.
you're doing and seeing where you can cut. You can reduce by so much. Just reduce. We cannot bring it to zero. It's impossible. We should be dead to do that.
Yeah. We should become plants to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Oh, I'd love to be in my next life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So
what it is.
what keeps it exciting for you right now?
Using different material all the time. I love it when people give me a challenge. I always try to,
What kind of challenge?
not yet.
What is a challenge for you?
A challenge is using new materials or anything that
Do they sometimes ask for
whether it will
specific
work or not.
shapes, or do they
Shapes
leave
as
that
well. Anything that I don't know whether it will be working or not. Like, for
ahead of
example,
time?
cement
Yeah.
doesn't take to all the materials. What if I
Yep.
say, okay, I'm going to use these, and then there I am, and they all fall off?
Work. Yeah.
Well, I love that challenge anyway.
So good.
um, trying new materials, trying new shapes, trying everything new, really. Accepting new ideas, spreading the word, learning more and more. It's yeah.
It
I mean,
just does not get boring.
no,
No.
exactly. For example, now, I mean, as you see at the back, I do lots of things with screw caps. I love
Okay,
them.
so I'm just gonna, for the listeners who are not watching YouTube, there's these amazing color explosions behind Francesca. So I can't even see from where I'm sitting that these are screw caps. That's insane.
Yeah,
What?
they
Wow.
are beautiful. And you can also use, beer caps, crown caps. These are just different. But yeah,
Nice and
so
shiny.
these obviously, okay, first of all, I try to use things that cannot be recycled or reused. But as you know, everything can be recycled only up to 2-3 times, paper, plastic, and after
Yeah.
that, they cannot be anymore. And also, recycling doesn't really work because most of what is recyclable is not recycled because it's either contaminated by something else, or it's really hard, or it's not.
Or it's really expensive from like a fuel perspective, right?
Exactly. So, for example, in London, every council recycles different things.
Yeah. It's the same in Holland. I think I'm in Rotterdam, and we do not have like the separate, I think it's just paper and glass and other waste. And in Amsterdam, you have your organic material separately.
Yeah.
It really depends on the local council.
Absolutely. And yeah, organic waste, actually, that's a good thing. Because, for example, in Kensington, they didn't, and here they do. But anyway, or you had to pay quite
Yeah.
a significant amount. But I have my worms who actually eat it all. But anyway, so
You have your worms. Okay, good.
yeah,
You have
I've
your
got the
compost heap.
yes, of course. Yeah,
Yes.
I've got my
So
worms.
good.
They all have a name. Not that I can tell them apart. They're part of the family. Anyway, so metal is the only one, apparently, the only material that is infinitely recyclable. But the metal caps, most councils do not take them because they're too small and they just don't work.
It's not worth it.
Exactly. So I actually feel so good that I can use these at least now, at least here, without feeling like I'm taking, metal away from new uses.
Yeah.
From being reused. And yeah, well, yeah. So basically, so I do this a lot. So I'm quite, versed in this. But for example, I started doing waves. And I just accepted a commission for a school, actually, 10 meters of a wave.
Mural. Wow.
Yes, which is great. But I have to understand in mosaic, mosaic is the arrangement of tiles following a certain andamento. Andamento are those lines. So you have to know when to open up lines. If you go wider in the drawing, you will open up new lines, or you will use bigger tiles.
Right. But you have to taper off at some stage to make it fit again.
Exactly. So you cut them, to needs.
Yeah.
But in my case, all these
can't.
are the same. No, they all have the same shape. And
I love it. This is a mathematical puzzle.
Do you see? It's like exactly
Styling.
so much fun. Imagine doing a wave, that narrows and widens and only using those. I mean, I love that. I love it. It's
basically you're doing so many things, right? You're doing
yeah.
eco activism, you're doing tiling with math. Basically,
Yeah,
we're doing
Master
color
Chef.
theory, right? How does color work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Representation, if you want to do representation,
Absolutely. And with
2D.
mosaic, you have to make do with the colors you have. So you need to know color theory very well.
Yeah.
And it's fun to study it and learn it anyway, and
Isn't it the best? Like color theory, we could do a whole podcast on that. I studied color actually for several years. I was amazed, first of all, how we know nothing about color, how our eyes work. Like I had no
yes,
idea,
how they're
right?
completely different from what we see there.
Exactly, right? But also that we aren't really taught the science of color.
Yeah, no,
It's
which is a
fascinating.
real pity actually, because
Yes,
they also work as a mood enhancer, for example.
exactly.
I think they're quite magic. Um,
Exactly, 100%. I always say I eat color. Like I have the type of brain that can literally feed. I also have a little like kind of anesthesia or synesthesia, sorry, with days of the week I see them in colors, right? And stuff like that.
yes,
But
yes, my daughter does too, and the numbers too.
so
Yes,
I
absolutely.
literally eat, to me, like looking at color is like I am being fed. I am
Yeah,
being fed. But also, if I, for example, go to hospital and there are kind of bad, stressy colors, it really affects my mood. And there's so much research has been done into this over the years. I still can't believe it's not being used more.
yeah, but also
Really
they have
for well-being.
vibrations. So
Yeah,
I understand. I completely agree with you. They really influence us so much. It's the
100%.
vibrations they have. I think when you say, I got a good vibe or a bad vibe from a place, I think that colors have,
Yep.
like many other factors, but colors
Sure,
are. And
space, all the things, right? But
yeah,
definitely, and lighting, but definitely also color. So I can see that that is another thing that makes it super fascinating and keeps it interesting all the time. But
yeah.
another thing I want to talk about is your attempt to the payment in
Oh
kindness
yes. Oh
initiative,
yes, yes.
because I talk to a lot of smart people about money, economy, right? We want to change our world. Some people say money is evil. How do we navigate that if we want to have impact on the world? But we also need to make money sometimes to exist. Some of us
Yes,
don't, but some of us do.
yes,
Many are like experimenting with like if you don't have a lot of money, you don't pay me a lot of money, and if you do, you do.
yeah.
What have you experimented with, and how did
I
that
think
go?
yes. Okay, so basically, I think that money should just be a means of exchange,
Mm,
and they are bad when they are tied to greed,
yeah,
and you just accumulate them for the sake of it, or because you want more and more and more,
or
and you just keep
control.
having unless you have exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, and which would bring me to something else, which I'm not going to say, but or maybe we'll talk about later. But how come we are coming to self-destruction, and how
yeah,
come people in power are bringing us there? And it is because they don't think they cannot be that clever, because they focus either on control or, anyway, their own individual needs and greed.
yes.
Otherwise, we wouldn't
They
be
have a
here.
very different agenda for the
Yes, and
world.
people who are smart don't actually look for, to be at the top of the world and
Yeah,
control, because they know that's not what interests them.
yeah.
So what I thought is, yes, obviously, if we could exchange things directly without the need for money, it'd be great. Obviously, it will put many more people in the position of being able to afford more
Do you know
things.
there was an experiment with this in Holland? I'm not sure whether it still exists, but for a long time there was like this sort of economy, this shadow economy in Amsterdam, where they had their own kind of currency, which was
Yes,
non-tangible, right? And you
yes.
could just
But there is a place in England as well that has it, like one or two actually villages or small towns
right, right, right.
in
Yep,
that. Yes, yes. But and also that promotes the local economy
exactly.
and zero,
Shop local.
zero
Yep.
kilometers. Exact. No, it's great. So anyway, so sorry, I'm no borders, but if you can stay local,
Yes.
what you eat, or it's better, of course, for various reasons. Anyway, so I started this experiment for which I would take money off my artwork up to the amount of the piece, if you did some kind things, kind to the earth, kind to the others, such as whatever, things that could be eco-friendly. Replace your plastic toothpaste with pastels. Do not use washing. Well, actually, I don't even think they were still there, because this is back in many years ago. And I just looked at the page recently. I just thought, oh my God, I was so behind. I need to update this. But, for example, back then it probably was replace the plastic bags with, one for life, like a fabric one. don't use plastic straws or
So
glasses.
basically rewarding people for eco-friendly behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would give different points to each things. And also that was a way to make other people do my marketing instead, saying, please tag me. So I just thought, so I can stay off Instagram for a while.
Clever.
So well. I mean, some people did, they weren't tagging, but some obviously at the end of the day, you know, I would just round whatever they did up and just say, okay, like, here we go.
Right, exactly.
Expect you're trying, you
It's
know.
all exact science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, payment in kindness. I still do it. I mean, if people offer me that, I would take it, you know. And also another thing I do is
So
I give,
no, hang on. Listen, this is amazing. So if I say, okay, I'm going to give up on plastic bags, will you give me an artwork?
I
How does it
will,
work?
that's the point. It's really hard to quantify. I will
Yeah.
give you a few points, and each
Yeah.
point, you know, equals a certain amount.
And then I
Uh,
save up
uh,
for an artwork.
exactly.
Amazing. And how many people have actually like done this?
Two.
Two. Yeah, because no, but that's the reason I'm asking, because it is super hard. But two people managed to save up enough points to
Yeah,
get an
yeah,
artwork.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, obviously, there were people I knew, so I could keep a track on
Yeah.
them.
Because that's the other thing. Do we trust people, right? To actually keep their word?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And tell me, because then also an exhibition was censored. Was
Yes.
that a similar initiative or was it something else?
So that was where the initiative was launched, but it wasn't for the initiative. It was because, and I understand that, because it was in the lobby of a residential estate in
Mhm.
Kensington.
And for the people who don't know London that well, Kensington's very fancy.
Yes, and there are a lot of, you know, for example, people coming from Arab countries, so they
Yes.
do have different taboos as to ours, for example. And it was censored because there were some pieces which regarded immortality or reincarnation, or, you know, the flowing of life, which weren't were probably found offensive by them. And I agree, because I agreed with taking them down. I didn't say anything. It's a, you know, a private residential area. It's not were it an art gallery, I would have laughed in the face.
Yeah,
And,
that would have been
you know,
ridiculous.
this is
Yeah.
what you should expect.
Yeah.
I'm glad it actually hit you somehow, you know. But there, of course, I just, you know, took
Yeah.
them
No,
out.
and I listen,
I have to take them, all of them.
I've had a similar experience where they put like this Christian painting, I think it was, or statue in the entrance hall of my office building. And I was like, can you please take that away?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? This is like a public, this is a shared space. You take your private Christianity devotion, whatever it is. I'm cool
Yeah.
with that, but take it to your own floor, please.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. Like, I
Yeah.
respect all religions, all faiths, but you've got to respect everyone else. So yes.
Interesting. But it's interesting that so it wasn't the rubbish per se, but it was what you had depicted.
So, oh, and
That was
the funny thing is, right before the launch, the PV, the private viewing, I went around to put some, because a friend of mine said, well, wouldn't it be fun if you actually put the original item under each artwork so that they can see where they're coming from? I thought that would be actually very cool, especially because it looks like, you know, the rubbish left on the floor. So I went home to get changed, came back, and it wasn't there anymore because the cleaner came around.
oh. That's
And
the
I just
best
thought,
story.
really makes my point, really, doesn't it?
Yes. And this is a very interesting question, right? Like, so whether something is perceived as valuable is so dependent on context. So
Absolutely.
you put it on the wall in a beautiful constellation and it's
Yeah.
art and it's underneath the artwork on the floor. It's like the cleaner sweeps it away, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, it's funny to recount. I mean, I was really upset when I saw that. Of course, no, where is she? She come back. Of course, God knows where they were. The
Do you
bin.
have an artist studio or do you work from home? What does that look like?
So I worked from home at first, then I got to study at the London School of Mosaics. Then I moved, and now I have my own garden studio, which,
You built your own.
as we speak, yeah, because there are little things. But yeah, so this is my dream comes true. I don't need anything from life, but even with the garden studio, and now I have it. I feel like, you know,
You are a millionaire,
I'm there.
right?
Yes, nothing else.
Yeah. I think having our own space to create, if we're creators, does make you feel like a millionaire. It's
Oh God, it
so,
does.
yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I'm there and I'm free, it's especially because working from home, especially having with children, it's actually very handy, right? Because you
Yes.
don't waste any time in commuting and you're always there. But the bad side of it is that the downside is that you keep doing your work. Like I'll work a little, the laundry, and I'll go and do it. And you're always enslaved by your other hat,
Yes.
the
That's
mother.
that's the reason I have a studio outside the home, right? And I bike
Absolutely.
here.
Don't I
Yeah,
forget about it. The laundry, whatever. I'll do it tonight if needs be. Or you can do it actually. Why not? How about you do it? It's not that hard. So yeah. It
so now
really,
you have this physical separation that is probably going to help with that.
and the
So
garden between where I'm planting everything and anything. We're not mowing. We've got the grass up to over our knees. The
beautiful.
cats love it, unfortunately for the birds. The children love it too, because we keep seeing all these spontaneous flowers.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to seed wildflowers, but I was waiting for a little bit until, the first. And so many are coming up. It's beautiful. Within a week, you see, new ones coming up. It's really
It's
good.
an explosion of color, which is also, again, I'm sure very inspiring.
Exactly. So it's beautiful to walk, Mind you, we have our little trail now, me and Gigi, the dog. We have two different ones, quite frankly. So we follow that,
Little
through
path.
the grass.
So
Little
good.
grass.
Do you have any rituals when you work?
That's interesting. If I do, quite frankly, I'm very elastic. I think that's part of what we are. I'm
Mm.
really elastic. I can make do with anything. I'm the queen of making do, actually, even with
Yeah,
food.
I think that is your brand, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
but sometimes for people to get into a certain state, they use like, oh, I always have my coffee or
oh
whatever.
no,
And
that for sure. Yes, coffee in the morning. That's for sure. I need to have done my yoga before.
another ritual
Yeah, that actually has become my morning ritual.
for
Both
kind of
facial yoga.
centering.
Yes, and I feel so much better after that.
Mm.
I feel like I've already been productive somehow and I'm ready to start. But otherwise, sometimes I tend to procrastinate. So I have to have one or two coffees. If I am at the London School of Mosaic or somewhere else, I need to chit chat in between
With
coffees.
people.
I
Yep.
have a last one to bring it to my table and then I start. And since I'm very fast at what I do, I actually accomplish the same, I think, as a normal person. But I talk for 2 hours, work for two.
I was
Yeah.
just talking about that with someone else. Like, I think the way productivity looks on us is completely different, right? Like, it will look like we're not doing anything, but still a lot is happening up here, I think.
That's the point. And that's why I need to be on my own. And that's also why I think it's really good to be in contact with other fellow artists, especially if they're from different practices.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
because medium, because then you exchange and you learn and you don't even understand how much, how many ideas you can gather. But at the same time, I need my space. I need to be on my own because actually most of the time I'll just sit there and think, and
Yes.
I need the time to think. I need it because that's where everything comes. That's what creation is. It's not the assembly of stuff. It's what you have
Exactly.
in your head.
Yeah.
And
Before.
what if I don't do that? Oh, what if I did that? I wonder.
And you need space, but you also need to be alone. You need to be in that kind of container. I think that's massively important. And if you look at that through the lens of old-fashioned productivity, people would be like, but that woman is not doing anything. She's just staring out the window. What the hell, right? Maybe
But
just
actually, it's the most important and it's the most difficult and precious to have, especially
so
when you
okay. So, but what I'm curious about, because a lot of people, especially when they start out, they don't trust this part, whether it's making art or building a business, which I think can also be an art, right? They're like,
have.
they don't trust this sitting, thinking, letting things come also from their subconscious, this inner knowing. Have you always trusted that, or is that a skill you have deepened over?
Okay, so when I was younger, as I said, okay, my parents knew how I was because a friend of a friend who was a psychologist asked me if I could run some tests, the original IQ tests, which I'd never done before and I hadn't done up until a few years ago.
Mm.
When after curiosity, I tried the Mensa one. But they knew, but they never told me the results, and because they didn't want to go to my head, they wanted me to be normal. But at the same time, I wish they did, because that would have saved me so much self-doubt.
Yeah.
And time wasted thinking, oh, but if they do it this way, surely they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I would have had so much more self-confidence, and I would have started earlier, and I would have been an artist most likely, ever since.
So when did you find out?
At 40.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How? What happened?
Yeah, and that's when I started, with the mosaics.
But that's when you realized, did you find out about the
Oh,
results then?
no, about that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I knew before. Sorry, no, I thought when I found out what I really
No.
was
When
meant
did you
to
find out?
wanted to do. No, I think I always knew underneath. And then it's when you start having your own self-confidence, probably university.
That you were like, hang on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think I'm normal.
Yeah, too many things have happened for me not to be always the one who's wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that though, because for me that took, I think, even longer, even though I did have the label at a very young age. I remember like meeting my husband and having lots of deep conversations. And he used to say the same thing to me like a lot of times. He always used to say, listen, it's not you who's crazy, it's the other people who are crazy.
It's so good to have someone who can tell you that.
I know, right? That was such a blessing to have that, because up until then I was always like, there's something wrong with me and I need to change. And he would be like, no, they're just mad, right? Like, which, I mean, of course it's not, he didn't mean it that way, but like as a reframe, you just get to be you. You don't need to become like them.
Yeah, no. And also it's, for example, my husband is really clever too. Of course, I could never be with someone who doesn't get me right away.
Okay.
Same.
How did you find him? Because like the most requested topic for the podcast
Where to find
is relationships.
Okay,
Is it
so
even possible to like have a relationship as a smart woman specifically?
well, with him, yes, because it's the opposite of me. Like I'm really quick, but I'm not that deep. Sometimes I get bored if I get too deep. But unless it's something that, it's what I'm studying at the moment.
Yes.
Whilst he is slower, but he's very deep, much deeper. He
Thorough.
goes to, very thorough. So we're actually a great team together. Obviously we get on each other's nerves.
Yes.
But the opposite. But no, and he is amazing. And he understands me. He gets me.
Yeah.
All the time. As you know, that's what's important. Like you might not agree with me, but you understand me.
I am also in a very complimentary relationship.
See, because otherwise I think you tear each other apart, right?
Totally. I mean, just imagining being married to me is a complete nightmare. I'm tired already.
Yeah. We need saints. Yeah.
Exactly. And just having that sort of balance. And then of course there's going to be, trouble, a little bit of conflict, etc., etc. But if you are able to navigate that.
Yeah, but we need the conflict too, I think.
True.
So that I can get on with the rest of the world, like give it to me now.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Listen, one of the things I had to do, like, and I'm still working on it, like my husband doesn't like to argue. I love to argue. I'm like, come on, fight with me.
Just for the sake of it, please, so I can become zen again after that.
Beautiful. But how did you, if you want to talk about that, how did you meet each other? How did you find him?
It's funny because we met on the plane.
Oh, I love this. This is a great story. I always hear these things. I'm like, that can't be true. Okay.
So basically, I was going home just for the weekend for my best friend's 30th birthday. And I had just decided a few months before that the person for me didn't exist. So I was perfectly happy on my own,
Yep. Happy single.
Exactly.
Don't need anybody.
I was open. I wasn't looking, I was really relaxed. And I was already dressed for the occasion because, again, I was going home, I think just 48 hours, 24 hours. I mean, just for the party that night. And before going, I was following Udinese. Udinese was my favorite football A team, but you wouldn't really get many news here, obviously, as much as you would get where I was coming from. So I had another friend who was coming to the party who would relay the information to me. And that Saturday or Sunday, whatever, he didn't send me the update. And Oh yeah, and the previous Sunday, yes, sorry. And so I asked him, so what's going on with the Udinese? How did it do? It's like, well, listen, Fran, if you really cared for it, you should find out yourself. Because I know you can. Like, oh, okay. I
Okay.
better find out, before next time. So here I am going to the airport, not knowing anything about it, thinking, oh shoot. And looking for the Gazzetta dello Sport around, which is the sport paper, which is, that
Yep.
page that you can tell a mile away if it is it or not. And I find one. So I go up to the Gazzetta dello Sport. This guy, excuse me, really sorry to disturb you, but is there any chance you have the results there so I know what Udinese did? And it was him. And say, well, look, I don't think there'll be much in here, but you're more than welcome to look. And so I had a look. After that, nothing happened. When I was working on traveling on my own, I would just sit down, and wait to be the last one to board or whatever. I didn't care which seat I would get. And he did the same. So we boarded me second last and him last. And the plane was full. So I ended up by going to the end and there he is coming. And I'm like, well, sit here. Why not sit here? So we started chit-chatting. And I liked him as a person right away. And we had a very similar background, both in studies, although he's a mathematician. And
I am also married to a mathematician.
I'm very rubbish at it, aren't you? Because I am.
They're the best.
I don't have patience for this. It's either the world or maths. I made a choice, right? I mean, very enjoyable. I can imagine. I mean, if you do maths, you're like, that's your world. That's it. You're a continual obsession, but you can't do anything else. And anyway, so we talked. He lived abroad in different places as well, and he was, and so we met back in London for a drink.
You exchange numbers.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. This is important. People, you need to exchange them.
And I told him, of course, because that's how it went. I even asked him to get married after we were living together. Well.
You proposed.
Yes. So like, look,
we have so much in common. I also proposed.
You really? Yes. But how did you do it? Because in my case, I'm not formal at all. We got married in jeans, as to say, with everyone in jeans in the big main square. But because what happened, this is funny. We were already living together. I didn't care about marriage, but we had the building manager who's younger than I was, I think, and really traditional. And so I will always say, you and your husband, by your husband. I kept telling him, look, he's not my husband. He's actually my partner, And every single time he would say, oh, so why is he not making an honest woman out of you? And I would laugh at first. And then I realized he was serious. Whatever. But then it must have worked at the back of my mind, because one day I just went up to Claudio, my husband, and said, well, look, so why are you not making an honest woman out of you? What's the difference? You might as well. We bought the house together, which is more of a commitment nowadays
than marriage. You can never split up again because of a mortgage.
What happened to you then?
I had a health scare and I really started rethinking, and I told my husband to never ask me to marry him because I thought marriage was so ridiculous. And then I had a health scare, which turned out to be luckily not as scary as I thought. And then I started reevaluating, and a really dear friend of mine actually told me, listen, Elsa, I know you think it's all ridiculous, but you do this for the people who love you, so they can celebrate you in your love.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I want that. I want to share that. And then I knew I had to propose, because I forbidden him to like her.
I would have never dared.
Don't even think about it, buddy. Yeah. So funny. So listen, for the people listening, now you know the formula to find love is to, first of all, get the Gazzetta dello Sport.
And patiently wait.
Or look. And make, or just, look for mathematicians.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say look for the opposite. And someone who, he's my best friend.
Yeah.
To be on my own or to be with him, to me, is the same thing.
That is amazing. That is beautiful. Yeah, to have that ease.
Yeah.
And just be able to completely be yourself.
Yeah.
With another human being. That is very beautiful and very precious.
I bet it's the same for you, no?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, and also be happy when, not be threatened by somebody else's growth right? Like my husband
Exactly.
went to art school for a while. He studied abroad for a while. And we are both happy for each other when we try something new. I travel on my own. He's like not like, how dare you?
Yeah, yeah, no, no. Freedom. I mean, if you love somebody, you
Yes,
set them free, honestly.
exactly.
And it's a choice to be
100%.
with each other. You
Yes,
want them to be happy and grow and find their own space. I mean, you would be frustrated if they didn't. Why shouldn't you let them? I mean, oh, absolutely.
exactly. Exactly. But it's not like that in all relationships, I'm told. Yeah. So
Yeah.
being, I think, but also being so comfortable in yourself. So find someone who's that mature and be that mature person yourself as well, right? That you are able to let other people
Yeah,
do
but I think
things.
it's the only thing I'm mature in, quite frankly, because
At
at
least
least
there's one thing.
I feel like I'm like, oh, but it's also interesting, as you said, because sometimes I'm the mother, he's the child. Some other times, I'm the child, he's the father, and most of the time
Exactly.
we're actually equals. But
Yeah.
like, yeah,
And I think what I'm guessing, but correct me if I'm wrong, what you're calling immaturity to me is probably childlike wonder, a sense of experimentation, and just being very free and curious in the world.
yes, that's a good side. The bad side is that I'm also very spontaneous.
Yeah.
And I don't lie. And to me, lying to my children or to my husband is something I cannot do. It's
You're not capable of it.
an intellectually wrong, like
But you
dishonest.
say this as if it's a problem.
Well, it is a problem sometimes because I tell them off right away.
Right.
I don't hold my tongue sometimes when I should. I mean, yeah, well, not
Yeah.
all the
It's
time,
like
but
I also cannot lie, but also my face cannot lie.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. My eyes are.
if someone asks me, do you like this dress or something? I mean, I cannot
It's
lie.
what they start doing. You're like, do you want a diplomatic answer or do you want the truth?
Uh, yeah, and then they already know. I,
Exactly.
it's so interesting, right? That some people, like I think many of us very smart people are, we're just not really good at lying. Our brains just like, I
No,
don't know. There's like this.
yeah. I think it's also part of the same sense of right, like of, the sense of what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Injustice is something I
Yes.
find it really, really hard to digest and
Yes.
understand. And that's why I find it very hard to read the paper or get
Yes.
the news. I really suffer. Like, I don't know. I think, I don't know what it is. It's like, I think you should be empathic towards things. And
And not everybody is.
it's like being a child, not taking them with the right cynicism
Yeah.
that maybe adults develop. But then at the same time, I think developing that is what stops you from changing, understanding where you're going wrong and what needs to be done and changed. And then, I mean, it's like children when you tell them something that happens and they go, but hey, so wrong. Why? Why did you? Like, well, because this is how the world goes, or because the world is unfair. True, but that shouldn't be the answer.
Yeah.
You know?
I think for me the answer is not something like, oh, this is how the world goes. What has been super useful for me is like there are some things I will just never understand, and that's okay, right? Because keep hurting myself in trying to understand something which to me is completely incomprehensible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something you don't want to understand, actually.
Exactly, right? I don't want this to make sense.
Yeah.
I don't want it, and my brain is trying to make it make sense.
Yeah, no, no, it doesn't. It's
It
like when people
doesn't.
say, oh, but keeping abreast of information, everything that goes on in the world is essential. And then you're thinking, I don't agree. In the sense, yes, the big picture, of course. But what the Prime Minister says, today, is like, is there anything I can do to control it or to help it? I want to know. But it's out of my control. It's out
Yeah,
of my
if it's
I
not
can vote,
useful
yes.
to you, right?
Yes.
But
So I
I think also
change
for
what I can
you,
change and focus on what
yeah,
I can.
exactly. Exactly. Instead of getting very upset about all the things that make you feel powerless. I
Exactly.
think that is such a massive cause of stress for people. They focus on the area where they have no power and they no longer see where they can have an impact and can make a difference and just get completely paralyzed and then think, oh, whatever, there's nothing I can do. We're all going to die. And I'm now very depressed. Yeah, no, but seriously.
Mind you, I alternate between these stages.
Yeah.
It's complete optimism, and do and
But I think you're also converting that frustration with the state of the world and, that energy you're channeling into your art.
yeah, of course I need to have some surrender to
Yeah, and
start
an
from,
outlet
get back
of,
into the
and I
optimism.
think most people I speak with, and the same goes for me, like who are creators, right? We are driven by frustration in a way, right?
Yeah,
We are driven also by wonder. I think it's not just frustration, but also frustration, like, but it's ridiculous that it's like this.
yeah,
Come
yeah.
on, let's change it. Right. That kind of
What can I
energy.
do?
But instead of just sitting there and I hate this. This sucks. Right?
Yeah.
That is not, I could never be in that energy, or at least, well, okay, let's be honest. I can be in it for 15 minutes, but then I get bored.
5 minutes,
Then I need to go do something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Do you let's talk a little bit about, if you want to, do you think that the way you raise your children is different because you have such a smart mind?
Okay. I don't know if that's because of that or because I don't care what other people think.
That
I
is a
mean,
superpower.
yes, but
Yeah.
not to say I don't care about other people.
No.
It wouldn't influence. I mean, I listen to them, but
Yeah.
I don't do something to please other people. I do something because I think it's right. And if you tell me that you think it's not right, I'll listen to your reasons. If I agree with some of them, then I'll change. But because I believe that you are right, and thank you.
Exactly, because you like my arguments and you
Otherwise,
learn and you're happy to change your mind if someone makes a good
yeah,
point.
exactly. Thank you for the tip. Actually, I disagree, and I'll
Yeah.
keep doing. Oh, thank you, and I'll. But so basically, my children, as I say, I don't lie to them. They know exactly what I know usually. My husband says that sometimes I should lay things a little softer,
Yeah. Be a
but
little
actually
less.
they take it.
Yeah.
They and for example, we all became vegan after watching Seaspiracy. Uh, Mind you. Oh, and there and then we looked at each other in the eyes and thinking, okay, so we're vegan, right? From tomorrow. Yes. So, and I fact checked as well what it was said. Apparently, it's even worse. Gigi, it's all right. It's even worse than what Tabrizi says in the documentary. I would recommend anyone and everyone to see it actually, but it does change your life forever. Anyway, same time, so it's their own choice. They know. We also watched a few afterwards. It's what's hard for them though, obviously, it's that they are now in teenage years
Yeah.
where especially my daughter wants to belong. And
Yeah.
they are the only two plus another one, three vegans at school.
Really? Wow.
Yes, some vegetarians, and so she goes around saying that she's vegetarian because it's cooler and it's more understandable. It makes her less weird, but I don't care. She can say whatever. But at the same time, I tell her, don't you want to actually change the world? You know what a difference it makes if you just tell people what you are, and why should you be, hide the fact that you don't want to harm people animals, because you think they have the same rights, and they're sentient beings, and because it's good for the planet. Why should you be scared of your own kindness and strengths? Because it is.
But she has a teenage brain that wants to belong to the group, right? It's all
Exactly.
biology. It makes perfect sense.
Exactly. So for a few
Yeah.
years, I know she's going to switch it off, in this regard, at least,
It'll
and
be
then
fine.
it's going to come back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, for example, my mom has wild chickens running around the garden, sleeping on the tree, and and she has the woods at the back. So sometimes the foxes come or other animals, and they,
They're
exterminate
not
them
vegetarians.
behind. Yeah, no. But anyway, they have little, fox cubs to maintain. It's fine. But if
Mhm.
they leave some behind, we eat them
Yeah.
because they are happy chickens.
Yeah.
We're not harming anyone, and we're not wasting that,
Yes.
very precious food for us. Also, the eggs they lay, we eat because they're happy eggs, happy hens. If they're fecunded, and they are broody, we'll let them do that, of course. And also they're incredible. They have a different taste. Anyway, on to the
They're the
next.
best, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So as I say, we are flexible, obviously,
Well,
and
exactly. Again, going back to, right, like if we get into this kind of, oh, I have to get everything right, I have to fit in this perfect
it's
box with
impossible.
my
It's impossible.
activism,
And you
it's
will be
so,
completely unhappy.
yeah,
Yeah. So, reducing already is such a big thing. Such
exactly.
a big thing.
Yeah. And just doing your part and being aware and
Yeah.
making change.
Yeah.
What do you think, like looking at your art, what is next for you? Have you got any plans for the next couple of years? What are you
Oh my
thinking
God,
now?
I've got so many. Okay, so there are a few projects going in Italy actually with the Maelstrom project, whereby they're marine biologists that go into these cruises and into these projects where they measure pollution and they get data with respect to many things basically. And they also run projects to reduce pollution, plastic pollution in the oceans, in the rivers. They are, building some very interesting actually devices
Uh-huh.
to either collect or even prevent, the plastic from going into it. And a part of the various partners that actually run this project. And part of what they do is also sensibilizing people to the
Right.
problem. And that's
Yeah.
where art comes into it. So we're developing a nice project with them, actually. 2024, I think, is the
Mm-hmm.
deadline. And that would be very interesting because I want to go and see what they do. I'll
Yeah.
use
And to learn all about their thing and your brain gets to be
exactly.
happy again.
So I
Yeah.
was so glad they proposed this. Then I have actually, I want to start doing big works, which are
How big
not
is your work now? Give us like a ballpark.
That's the point. So usually the artwork events might do, the art for trash projects for the
Yep.
office. I sell them by 50 by 50 boards, also to
50
give
by 50.
one price for them all. It's all proportionate. But
Right.
then I started doing bigger pieces as long as I can carry them
Mm-hmm.
or take them by electric car.
Yeah.
I'm fine with them. But that's why I'm working sections. So point is that with the mosaic, what you would do, you would work in sections, and then you assemble them together,
Yep.
usually in reverse. So anyway, I don't want to go into details, but with what I use, it's much harder to work in sections, especially because I work direct. I cannot work indirect, so I have to work directly on the board. So it's the actual
Right.
board that
Right.
should be cut, unless I work on mesh and then I stick that to the board. But anyway, so I'm now working on big projects, and I need to find a way to section them
I
so
love
that
it.
they
It's a
work and
puzzle.
they can be carried and become, eco-friendly as well in the installation
Yes.
part of the mosaic.
Yeah. And you can do massive walls.
Yeah, and that would be so much fun. I mean, I can do them directly on there or with the mesh and stick them to the wall, and that's fine, but they're permanent. I need
Yes.
to find some, ways where they're not permanent, they can be moved easily from wall to wall. And that's really interesting. I've got some
Again,
ideas.
super fun problems to solve.
Yeah, yeah.
Because again, I think one of the reasons you're having so much fun with this is there are so many parameters, right, that are constantly changing, right? The material parameters, the location, the type of rubbish, the
Yeah.
size, like all the things. And then your brain having to solve for all that. Of course, it never gets boring.
Yeah, no, and it's fun because every time I walk into the office, I'm like, yeah, okay, so yes, we can use this and this and this. Like, but don't you have anything else? Like, something that I haven't
Where's the
seen.
rest of your rubbish? Show me.
Exactly. Where else do you produce rubbish? Is there some, project like a department on the side which runs something different?
And when
But
you think about the history of Mosaic, um how do you see yourself in that like continuous line? Like I have been very lucky actually. At the end of last year I did a tour of Ravenna, saw some amazing stuff. What do you think? Like this is such an old art form, right?
yeah,
And it's such a beautiful art form. It's so accessible. You do not need to learn how to mix paint, right? You don't need to, in that sense. Of course, you can buy the stones, but as you're showing, you can create mosaics with anything,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
What do you see as the future
First
of
one.
mosaics?
So actually, the future of mosaic, I think actually we'll keep with the traditional side of it. Also,
Mhm.
because if you want to do flooring, for example, that's what you would do. You would use stones or ceramic.
Or you could just do resin,
Yes,
right?
but resin is not really eco-friendly unless it's
Oh,
recycled.
true.
How do you do that? So you
Yeah,
could, but no, because you're actually bringing up something very interesting. I thought of.
you've thought of this.
I'm doing some pieces, sometimes you find, and then using the resin pieces, because actually when it dries, it can have some, nice colors, and it's not
Yes.
completely clear, so you can use that. But anyway, that's to a different. But then you would have to level it, for flooring and they have to be level. No, anyway, so I see the traditional side of it continuing, but I also see what I do. Hopefully, it will become more and more interested, more and more used, because also I see that. So there is BAM. It's the British Association of Modern Mosaic in this country, and they do, a forum each year. They do prompts. So basically,
Fun.
some prompts and they asked me to do a few, and I did 4 or 5.
Cool.
And then they had workshops on them, and they said that they were very popular during lockdown, especially. You would do them online, so it was a very good idea that they had to do these prompts and workshops.
Yeah.
But they also asked me to go as a speaker for the forum they will have this October, because it will be called Pushing the Boundaries.
Love it.
So I actually think, regardless of what I do, but just reusing other stuff, like whether it's crockery or other things, it's in the charts. I think it will be more and more, because it's actually fun for a mosaicist. It really is. You can find some beautiful colors, beautiful designs or drawings, and whether it's a rose that you want to add, in the middle of the mosaic, or just a colored piece, or something that's slightly, has a different shape. Yeah, it's the perfect means.
I love how your brain has taken you from law
Yeah, imagine.
right to this amazing way of being in the world, being an artist, making money and making the world a better place and creating beautiful things.
Thank
Right.
you.
So good. Do you have like a dream location? Like, I don't know, I'm thinking St. Paul's, the Dome, or like, is there something where
Oh,
you're like,
I
oh,
want to
I
be
would
the
love to
Tate.
create a mosaic here?
I want to be the Tate and just create a
Tate
mosaic,
Modern.
permanent mosaic there. Yes, Tate Modern.
Are we talking the big hall or?
Oh, the big hole would be amazing. Any space they give me, but it has
Yeah.
to be permanent.
Yeah. That is a problem. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they could guerrilla do some, mosaics. We do have I do
So
know
fun.
to do that.
So
But
fun.
yeah.
Thank you so much for this. I think it's been super
Oh,
inspiring,
thank
and
you.
I can't wait to share your artworks in the link. So anybody who wants to see your work, see these explosions of color and be inspired, maybe you'll start creating yourself. Check the show notes for the link to
Please.
Francesca's amazing work.
Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
It was fun. Thank you. I'll keep following.